All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. I am Rob McConnell, and this is the X Zone Radio Show, a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality, and the X Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. until midnight, right here from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. And we're heard on the Voice of Canada Broadcast Network. We're heard on the Canada First Broadcast Network, the Mutual Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, and the list goes on and on and on. That's what happens when you do a radio show over what, 34, 35 years now? I forget. But anyway, here we are, and of course, here in Niagara, the northern tier of New York, Pennsylvania, and let me see, there's a couple of other states that we're in. You're listening to us on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, CFAJ, here in St. Catharines. And these are trying times. And, you know, my wife and I drove down the QEW the other day. And what is usually busy, traffic is minimal. The number of U.S. plates that we're not seeing and the number of our good neighbors to the south that we're seeing, you know, it's crazy. It is truly crazy. And we Canadians miss our American neighbors. And we understand that politics gets in the way many times of friendship, but our doors are always open. We'll always be here as your neighbors to the north, and we'll always be here to defend you and to work with you on whatever your issues are. My guest this hour is a gentleman who is a psychic medium. Not only that, he is a former member of the New York Fire Department, now living in Australia. And his name is Andrew RADZIEWICZ. We've had the pleasure of having Andrew on the show before. And Andrew, welcome back. How are things with you, and how are things in Australia?
Oh, doing great, Rob. Just nice and busy here. It's beautiful weather here. We're in the end of summertime, and yeah, things are going great.
For the members of the audience who haven't heard you before because of our expansion, tell them a little bit about yourself, Andrew.
Sure. So I was a New York City firefighter from 2006 till 2018, and in the mix of all that, just prior to that, I was in the U.S. Coast Guard, and I had a UFO encounter while in the Coast Guard, and then throughout my firefighting career, in 2011, I met a guy named Dr. Stephen Greer that taught me the CE-5 initiative, and then I trained with a psychic medium named Robert Hansen in Long Island, New York. And I started connecting the reality of UFOs and the afterlife. And then eventually now I am just a full-time psychic medium, 24/7. I eat, sleep, and breathe it. And I've read people and helped them from all over the world, from Australia to New York to Hollywood to Switzerland and anything and everything in between. And it's been quite a journey.
It certainly sounds like one. And as a former member of the Fire and NYFD, and as a member of the U.S. Coast Guard, I want to thank you for your service and for being there for people who you run towards in their time of need, where many others would run away. So thank you for the work that you've done in the past.
Oh, thank you very much. And that's exactly what I am here for as a psychic medium. I mean, most people are coming to me
Hmm.
not because everything is going great in their life, but because they're seeking closure or answers, or they're in a real weird place. And that's what I'm here for. So thank you.
How have things changed over the past 2 months for you with all the geopolitical mess that we're in? Are people coming to you more often now? Are you getting new clients? And if so, are you getting asked about the uncertainty in the world and how it'll end up?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I've had more people come to me recently in the last 2, 3 months
Hmm.
than ever before. And I think that's because we are at a wild time overall with everything going on in the world, the tariffs, the chaos, and then, the half effort of disclosure from the government with the JFK files, the UFO reality,
Hmm.
and everything else. I think people have had enough. They want to get answers, and they want to go to reliable people that have been around a long time, seen the ups and downs, and walk the walk and talk the talk. And I like to consider myself as one of those people that I still have mud on my boots. I still go outside every night in my backyard and I make UFO contacts. I'm still doing the things I did 15 years ago that worked then, that work now. And that's the thing. I like to stick with the basics and what works. And yeah, I think that helps with attracting a lot of people in my direction is they see, people that are
Yeah.
out there that are actually doing things and people that are just talking about it. But yeah, I think it's going to get even a little bit crazier and more stressful as we go. And people are becoming more spiritual. We're also in the year of 2025, which is the end of a cycle numerology wise. So 2 plus 2 plus 5 equals 9. The number 9 equals 9. 9 is 9 energy, which is the end of a cycle. So we are at the end of the cycle. So things are going to pick up and we become more a little bit crazy as the year progresses.
Andrew, where does the spirituality come in when we're talking about communicating with those on the other side of the veil and communicating with those inside of UFOs who traverse time and space at distances and speeds that we have no idea about? How come the communication between both seem to be on a parallel?
Yeah, so this is something that I've been fascinated by and researched and still look into over the years. I think that through meditation, so
Hmm.
through quieting the mind, you can't shut the mind off, you can't turn it off, unfortunately, but quieting the mind or calming down the mind in that space, everything is omnipresent. Or like I like to say, everything is there. Everything is just there. You can communicate with your loved ones, UFOs, extraterrestrials. You can get answers to information. You can remote view. And to someone listening that's never heard this before, that might sound crazy. And I totally get that. When I first learned this in 2011 from Dr. Stephen Greer, how to meditate, I thought that I would not be able to do any of that stuff. I thought I might try, but it wouldn't work. But through 15 years of doing this and having a daily meditative practice that I stick to, I have come to the realization that our loved ones and the UFOs that I'm communicating with, I personally believe that they are all in this space in between. Okay, they are all together,
Hmm.
and through meditation, we can directly communicate with them. And I have talked to hundreds, probably thousands now, of people all over the world that have had some sort of similar type experience with the other side in a meditative or an out of body or a near death experience type state.
The UFOs that you connect with via meditation and the techniques that you use, what what is their objective? Where are they from? Why are they here?
So the ones that I communicate with, most of them are from right here. That's at least what they express to me. So when I would ask or want to find out where you're coming from, or
Hmm.
they might have come from a distant solar system in the past. But right now, when I ask where are you or what's going on, they will tell me, they'll express to me that they are here or in a different dimension, or I like to say a different frequency. So if you
Ah.
look around, if you look at the sky,
Hmm.
you might just see clouds. But when you start to meditate, you open up and go, wait, there's a craft, there's a craft in now. So by adjusting your frequency through meditation, I believe that these things are right around us right now as we speak.
Are these visitors or these extraterrestrials? Are they from our future?
I think that some are. I think that there are some people that are literally time travelers
Mm-hmm.
that have come back, and then I think that there are actual extraterrestrial races like the Greys and other races that have come back from the future, and they are concerned because some of these races have removed the DNA component of compassion, okay, or certain things in their DNA where their race is dying out
Right.
due to not having any compassion or emotion, and they're coming back to try to help us so we don't end up going in that same direction through infusing with AI like Elon Musk is trying to do.
You know, everybody waits for the day that disclosure happens. Why is it that these travelers, these ETs, just don't make themselves known where disclosure has no other other way of the government saying, hey, listen, they're not here. Disclosure you know is never going to happen. How can they say that if these ETs and these aliens and these visitors make themselves known to the masses? Why are they so elusive?
So I believe that they have tried to make contact over the years,
Mm-hmm.
and even by accident. So in Roswell or other incidents where maybe they were shot down by a scalar weapon or some sort of device that we have, that's not exactly the friendliest way to try to
That's true.
approach them.
That's
So
true.
I don't know if thinking about it that way, I think that they have, and they're very cautious. So it's kind of the Earth, I believe, is under quarantine, where they're actually frightened by the way that we treat one another. But if we collectively change that one day and start to really love each other truly
Mm-hmm.
unconditionally, then they would come. But we're not there yet.
Where does the coming of the ETs line up with the biblical scenario of Revelation? You know, the end as we know it.
Yeah. So I had heard that there's a guy I know, Christopher Bledsoe, and other people have talked about this for many, many years. He told me
Mm-hmm.
this too about a decade ago, that in March, the equinox of 2026, so basically Easter of 2026, there would be some sort of event in the pyramids and a planetary alignment that would happen, that there would be some sort of grand event that would happen, whether that's Revelation or the book of
Yeah.
Revelation or some sort of great revealing. It seems like there's people out there that believe that some sort of event is going to happen. Now, I don't believe so. I'm a little skeptical with that because I've heard these things over the years. On this date and time, this is going to happen,
Yeah,
and it
exactly.
never happened.
Exactly. Listen, Andrew, you and I have to take our first break. Thanks very much for joining us. And again, thank you for your service over the years, my friend. And Exonation, if you'd like to find out more about Andrew RADZIEWICZ, please visit his website, thepsychicfirefighter.com. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and we're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, which is about 10 minutes from the Niagara Falls, Ontario to Niagara Falls, New York border. And to all our American friends, we still love you up here. We really do. I'll be back, so whatever you do, don't go away.
Crying on my pillow, lonely in my bed. Then I heard a voice beside me, and she softly said, "Wonder is your nightlight, magic is your dream." And as I held her, she said, "See what I mean?" I said, "What?" She said, "Ooh-wee." I said, "All right." She said, "Love me, love me, love me, undercover angel, midnight fantasy. I've never had a dream that."
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and you're listening to us around the world on, let's just stick with the good old X-Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, and our good friends at your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ, here in St. Catharines, Ontario. My guest this hour, X-Zone Nation, is Andrew RADZIEWICZ, and we're talking about, everything from UFOs to numerology to... let me see, what else have we talked about so far? Spirituality. And in 1999, Andrew was serving on with the U.S. Coast Guard and had a life-changing UFO encounter with 20 other witnesses. This Nimitz-style UFO would eventually lead Andrew to meet Dr. Stephen Greer and learn the CE-5 method in 2011. After meeting Dr. Greer, Andrew started to train with psychic medium Robert Hansen in Long Island, New York, after he was told by Mr. Hansen that he had the gift of being a psychic medium. Once again, if you'd like to find out more about our guest, his website is thepsychicfirefighter.com. What was it like being a firefighter, having this gift?
Yeah, so at first, I didn't want anyone to know.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, well, I'll just do this on my days off. But then one time I was at an event, like a public reading for Robert Hansen, and a guy I worked with showed up there, and he was like, hey, dude, what are you doing here? And then he's like, I saw you talking to the speaker before the event. You know him? And I'm like, yeah. And then he was like, could you read me sometime? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So then I started reading guys, their wives, their cousins, and it just, turned into this wonderful thing. And then one night I had a life-saving encounter at work that started to really change my life as well, to show me that this stuff was for real. And basically I was at a fire one night, got off the truck, and I saw an apparition appear, and I could smell a perfume, a Bill Blast 1980s Vanilla Musk, and that is like exactly what my grandmother wore. And I heard her voice say, Andrew, don't go in there. And we got to the front of the building, and we were ordered to go into the 4th floor of this building. I turned around to the guys I was with and said, do not go in there. They looked at me like I was crazy, and 30 to 40 seconds later, fire blew out of every window on that 4th floor. So if we would have got on there and done our job like we were told to, we would have been incinerated instantly.
I would imagine that from that point on, when you suggested something, your fire crew listened?
Yeah, and needless to say, yeah. And they asked me after, bro, how did you know that? And I just said, my soul spoke to me. And I could advise you that if you ever have anything like that happen, on the job, off the job, whatever, that only happened once like that in my career. But I knew through doing years of meditation prior to that, that this was some sort of sign. And if I had not done anything like that prior, I don't know if I would have listened to that. I don't know what I would have done. But I knew, okay, something's trying to give me a sign, and I better listen to this. And I'm so glad I did.
Do you believe that we all have this ability?
100%. It's like anything else. All of us have a ton of filters put on us from all the madness, all the media, Netflix, all of these disinfo campaigns. And they tell us that these things are impossible, that we can't do this, yada, yada, yada.
Right.
But when we meditate, we remove these filters, and that's how we can tap into that easy.
I remember in the 60s that meditation was just being talked about. We had the yogis, we had the Beatles going over to the ashrams. And this is when I believe that meditation truly was introduced into our culture. And way back then, because of the yogis, everybody thought that you had to get into the lotus position, and there was, you had to have incense and the chiming of the little charms. And how true is that to the way that you, my neighbor next door, my wife, could actually meditate? Is there a specific technique that...
It's really simple. So when I teach meditation, transcendental meditation, just like the way I was taught,
right,
I'm just sitting in a computer chair, no bells, no whistles. If you know me or people see me, I don't wear crystals, I don't use cards. You don't need any of that funky stuff. There's nothing wrong with that if you want to do that, but you don't need it. So let's cut the nonsense and let's just get to business. And you just sit in a chair,
right,
you quiet your mind, and that's it. That's all that's required. You don't have to do anything funky with your legs or your
Hmm.
hands. You just sit there, and
Yeah.
through breathing, just nice
Right.
and easy breathing, it's that simple.
Well, let me ask you this: if when you go to sleep and you have these strange dreams that people call prophetic dreams, is this the result of you actually meditating or the dream state that allows you to go beyond to receive these messages?
Yes, so I think as you meditate too, you'll get much clearer on those messages. I know
Hmm.
people that don't even meditate that have them, and I feel that we are definitely tapping into alternate outcomes or alternate realities, whatever you want to call them, but we live in limitless potential. And when we get those little glimpses in the dream state, I think that some of those are possible outcomes, and we can visit, I believe, where we go after we pass away. I think some of those
Hmm.
dreams are about the afterlife because people talk about seeing their relatives that are on the other side.
There are cultures and civilizations who believe that when we dream, that is the reality, and what we believe to be reality is a dream.
That's exactly what I think is going on. I think
Really?
that is the inverse. And this, I like to say, we're in the dream within a dream,
Hmm.
and that's it. And when you wake up, waking up, all that it is realizing, wait, this is just temporary. But when I go to sleep, that's that other place that's eternal, where I'm free, where I don't feel, where it's different, where I'm not eating. I don't have to eat food. You know what I mean? I'm eternal. I'm perfect. And it's just waking up to the reality that what we're trying to figure out here on Earth right now.
Exonation, our guest this hour is Andrew RADZIEWICZ, and if you'd like to find out more about Andrew, if you'd like to, after listening to him here and understanding that this is a real down to earth guy. Like you said, he doesn't wear jingles, he doesn't wear crystals. He's just a down to earth guy. And if you'd like to contact him for maybe a one on one consultation, his website is thepsychicfirefighter.com. In all the years that you've been doing this service to humanity, and that's exactly what I truly believe it is, Andrew, what has been your most memorable experience that you've had helping somebody out?
Wow. So, a couple months ago, I did a podcast with a guy that people might know. He's an actor named Army Hammer. And a couple years ago, he contacted me for a reading. I didn't know who
Hmm.
he was. He just booked in and said AH. I didn't know the name. I didn't know anything. So I read him.
Hmm.
And this is about 2.5 years ago. And he said, when is my life going to get better? When are things going to turn around? And he basically was blackballed at that point from Hollywood. And I didn't, it was just about to happen. And I said to him, you got to wait about 2.5 years. But at the end of 2024, your career, your life is going to turn around and you'll be turning jobs down. And he's like, really? Well, November of 2024, everything changed, turned around. He's got his life back. He's working and he's turning jobs down. And I went on his podcast in January and we shared our story. But I meet people and these things happen. But most people, I never hear from again, or they're not going to go publicly and talk about it. This is someone that defied the odds, came back, had a legal situation going on that I said, all the charges will be dropped.
Hmm.
Nothing's going to happen. You're going to move on. You don't have to worry, man. Just keep doing the right thing. And it happened. And he shared about it. So it's always amazing when people share it from their perspective too. And we're able to both share what's going on. But that was pretty fascinating.
How does it make you feel when you're able to bring closure to members of families who question, if their dearly departed is actually on the other side, or if they have something that they need to tell the person on the other side? What's it like? What's it like for you?
So for me, the best thing is if somebody loses a child or,
Oh, yeah.
someone in the womb. I worked also, when I moved to Australia, I worked in a funeral home as a mortician for about 4 years. So I literally hands-on know what it's like to prepare and take care of families and your loved ones after they transition. So that's something unique that I haven't met another medium that has just lived that life experience. So that
That's.
helps me a lot. What I'm doing,
Hmm.
literally as a psychic. So doing that and having someone reconnect with their loved one on the other side and tell them that they're okay. Their soul is not sick and suffering. Whatever they were going through is gone. I can't even put that into words. That's amazing as a medium, but I have to say literally doing that as a working in a funeral home as a funeral director and a mortician, that is even more incredible to actually go through that with the families and help to get them to put their loved one where they need to go when they transition. So I want to say, anyone that's listening that works in that industry as a mortician, works in a funeral home, you guys are underpaid and underappreciated most of the time. But you know what it's like when you get a family that reaches out and they say, "Oh my God, thank you. That was so
Yeah.
amazing." You can't even put it into words. It's special.
I'll tell you something, and that's one job I don't think I could do. And when I was in the police force, I went into bank robberies, multiple car accidents, everything that a cop does. Yeah, and that's one thing that I really don't think I could do is be a mortician. So,
Yeah.
hats off to you, man. You're a firefighter, Coast Guard, mortician. All these all these jobs are to service to people at a very specific time in their life when they need what you can give them. So my hat is off to you, bud.
Thank you. And every job I kept doing, and even working in the funeral home, when they would find out what I was doing, doing as a psychic, they're like,
Sure.
"Why are you here? You should be working as a psychic full time." And I'm like, I love working around and helping people. I don't know what to say. I just love it.
We've got about 40 seconds before I have to go to my mid break. Um, in your opinion, should people fear death?
No, it's just transitioning. That's all it is. It's that simple. With the hundreds of readings that I've done over the
Hmm.
years, the message is love is eternal. It never ends, and there is nothing to fear. You're just in a different form. I'm right here. I haven't left you.
Fascinating. Andrew, please stand by. Thanks again for taking time out of your busy day to join us here on the X Zone and X Zone Nation. If you'd like to contact our guest this hour, thepsychicfirefighter.com. And Andrew and I will be back after this short break right here on the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. And if you'd like to listen to us online, it's very simple. You can go to xzbn.net, or if you'd like to listen to us in your car radio and you tune us to AM 1220, that's CFAJ, lovingly known as the Classic 1220, Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. until midnight. I'll be back on the other side of the short break. Don't go away.
Wonder is your nightlight, magic is your dream. And as I held her, she said, "See what I mean?" I said, "What?" She said, "Ooh-wee." I said, "All right." She said, "Love me, love me, love me, undercover angel, midnight fantasy. I've never had a dream that made sweet love to me."
Last night I didn't get to sleep at all. No, no. I lay awake and watched until the morning light washed away the darkness of the lonely night. Oh, and last night I got to thinking maybe I should call.
Oh, boy, does that take me back a long time ago. They just don't have music like they used to. You know what I mean? Like, I know my kids and my grandchildren love the music of today, but I kind of listen to it and I miss Marilyn McCoo and The Fifth Dimension and all the greats. But that's what happens when you get old. Ah, what a day it's been here in the X Zone. Like we were talking earlier today to a number of people about the political situation here. We've got elections coming up on April the 28th. We've got the tariffs that are going on. And Andrew, I have to ask you, after all the psychics and mediums I've had on the show, not one of them talked about the problems that we would be facing now. Is it possible that there are certain things that are not given to psychics to tell to people?
Um, I mean, yeah, so, everyone has their own idea or their gift or what they
Hmm.
say their limitations are, but I feel that um, it can be limitless. Just keep at it, keep going, and my gifts, I could not have possibly would have imagined that they would have unfolded the way they had. So
Yeah.
just keep at it. That's all I can say. Yeah.
You and I were briefly discussing the JFK files,
Yep.
the number that had been released, and to this point, there hasn't been anything that was of surprise to anyone. The smoking gun still is not there, but I understand that you believe that the JFK files are related to UFOs.
Yeah, 100%. So I know that Marilyn Monroe
Hmm.
had information about UFOs, and I had heard this 20 years ago, like a long, long time ago. So I know she had information on UFOs, and that this led to, or definitely played a major role in what she was about to reveal. And then that's why what happened to her happened. And then even JFK, because I guess when he was intimate with her or whatever, he was relaying things to her.
Uh huh.
And you know how it goes, loose lips sink ships, and they had eyes on him all the time, and that is why her and him suffered the fate they had. Absolutely, I feel it's definitely connected because why the technology. That is the one thing that I don't know enough about, and I'm glad. I don't really want to know, but basically, if they're coming here from another solar system, which they are, they're not flying on rocket fuel, and if that technology exists and it's being withheld, and it is, that is worth someone disappearing or losing their life, unfortunately.
In your opinion, why are people being abducted?
So I think that there's programs out there outside of the U.S. government.
Hmm.
There's black operations beyond the U.S. military and government that they will go to genuine contactees, and then even people that aren't, to instill fear and to send a message. For example, Paul Benowitz and other people have seen things on military bases that they thought were UFOs. They weren't. They were experimental test weapons or drones or whatever. And then in the middle of the night, he comes and gets abducted and poked and prodded. Now he thinks he saw UFOs during the day,
Right.
and now he's getting taken. And the Office of Special Investigations from the Air Force would come to his house and say, "Oh yeah, you saw UFOs. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what it is." So this poor guy, was a victim, and I know that he's not the only one that's happened to.
So if I understand what you're saying, what people are seeing that they believe to be UFOs are experimental aircraft or experimental weapons, and then these people are then kidnapped and examined medically by members of the black op operations of the military.
Yeah, yeah, it's been done over and over, and there is a active. There's a current active program
Hmm.
where this is still happening. Look at Richard Doty. The audience listening, look at Richard Doty. He has spoken about this in his doctor degree interviews, and he cuts off when he talks about it. He said this program is still active. He doesn't want to keep talking about it, but he said it's a real classified program. I mean, within the U.S. Air Force.
So,
That's crazy.
so how do we differentiate between an actual UFO and a black op project?
Yeah, so an actual UFO will be seamless. There's no bolts, no rivets, nothing
Hmm.
like that. And a real extraterrestrial, to know the difference, if the extraterrestrials are 100 years more advanced, that to me, and it's common sense that they have evolved past the point of harming one another. Because if they, as ETs, were still hurting other ET races out there in the cosmos,
Hmm.
and they had nuclear weapons and they have evolved, they would have nuked each other. They wouldn't exist. So they have learned from their mistakes, and they have come back to express this to us that they do not mean any harm. Because if they were still poking and prodding one another, they wouldn't be living in peace. And I believe they live in universal peace.
So when we have all these people who see these craft in the sky, strange lights at night, what do you think the percentage would be that they are 100% UFOs from other galaxies or other dimensions compared to experimental weaponry or experimental um, craft?
So there's a guy by the name of Dr. Michael Aquino. He worked at the original U.S. Space Force with the U.S. Army, the first one.
Hmm.
And he said during interviews, there were hundreds of objects in the sky that they didn't know what they were, and they did not have the ability to track every single one of them. Yeah, the UFOs are real, he said, but unless they're landing in someone's yard, they're not really worried about it. So based on that and based on what I
Yeah.
know, I think that there is a ton of activity in the sky all around, tons of it. It's all over the place. They just literally do not have the means to track down every single one until it literally crashes in someone's yard, like happened in Las Vegas, and it was all over the news. Then they'll come and they'll cover it up quick. But unless it's happening like that, no, just someone doing a CE-5 like me and making some nice, peaceful contact,
Mm-hmm.
they're not even concerned. They really don't even care.
Can you share with our listeners about the UFO crash in Las Vegas?
So, from my understanding, there was a UFO that was on a police body cam. Something crashed in the sky, left a trail, a trace in someone's backyard. A young family came out with children and everything. And then there were actual beings in the yard that they were able to pick up on their iPhones and get some footage on. And then, of course, the FBI, the local police came, covered everything up,
Mhm.
installed the cameras in the yard, of course, and said, "There's nothing to see here," and told the family to shut up. But right when it happened, the son and the relatives did some stuff on the internet and talked about what they saw, and they saw these creatures getting out. So like everything, sometimes these things will crash, they will land, but these beings did not take them, they did not poke them, they did not prod them, none of that. They crash landed by accident, and it seems like they ran away or disappeared. So yes, even accidents happen with ETs, with advanced spacecraft, but still they did not physically harm anyone that was there.
I would
They were frightened.
I would imagine that a real UFO has stealthing capabilities, and that they would not, in fact, be caught on radar.
Correct. So I know when I had my encounter in the
Mhm.
Coast Guard in '99. In 1999, the officer on duty came up and he said, "Andrew, there's nothing on the radar right now, nothing." And we were looking at two objects right in front of us. So he said, "That's impossible."
Wow.
And this is '99. Okay, this is 26 years ago. So think about what's going on. 26 years ago, maybe today that's common with cloaking and stealth technology. I don't know about 1999.
Yeah,
I can tell you.
it reminds me of the story about the Queenie when she was going through the Bermuda Triangle, and I believe she had just left. I can't remember which port, but there was a tug or a pilot ship behind her, and they were following her on this voyage, and she was going back to, I believe, was Port Lauderdale, and they passed through an anomaly where the people aboard the craft behind the QE could actually see the ship, but she wasn't there on radar.
Yes, and I've heard plenty of stories
Yeah.
like this, and absolutely, there's some real high strangeness in that area. That was part of our area. So I was in South Florida, the
Wow.
Florida area, but yeah, we had all sorts of high strangeness. Let's just say that happened out at sea.
Plus, there is a lot of commercial air traffic in that area.
Oh
So
yeah,
yeah,
and there's also underwater submarine bases that I know of from the U.S. Navy,
right.
and then there are classified bases that you cannot look up. You can't even find them. It's a joint venture with the U.S. Navy, Cuba, and a couple other countries. They have joint underwater submarine bases out near the Bermuda Triangle that, you don't even want to talk about it. Honestly, people don't even like talking about it. I'm telling you, I've seen them. I know they exist. Meaning, when I was in the service,
Right.
I saw these things.
Are these what people are now calling USOs?
Yeah, yeah. So there are drones
Mhm.
and they have human-made things that get released from the ocean that we have,
Right.
and then there is an interface, or there are extraterrestrial type beings, I would say, that live in the ocean or in the earth, and they will send out probes, but they are not. I want to be clear. They are not what these people are seeing. If that is a red and green light on it, that's human made. End of story. Stop. That's it. It's over.
Right.
If it is a solid illuminated object glowing, pulsating, that's not human made because it doesn't have FAA lights on it. If it has FAA lights, it was made by a human. End of story. That's it.
But taking the part where it could be an experimental craft or an experimental weapon, why would they put red and green lights on it? Would they not want it to be masked, or if they did, they wanted
So,
the people to see it? Anybody who did see it would think it was a UFO?
so there were all these drone sightings
Hmm.
happening in New Jersey,
Yeah, I heard about
right?
that. Yeah.
So, and then what a coincidence! Now Steven Spielberg is filming a movie there, right there. So
Ah,
with the drones, let's just keep it real simple, without getting crazy. I like to keep this simple.
yeah.
I think those drones were just surveying the land before the movie. That's it. That's all it was. Nothing, and they're not going to tell us if it was a threat to national security. There would be no press conference. They wouldn't be saying anything. It would be zip tight, lip shite, need to know only. They were having press conferences. We don't know what these are. Come on. I don't buy it for a second. I know because I've been on the other side in the Coast Guard, in the military. When they're frightened or scared, they're not doing anything. They're not going to tell you anything until they know what the origin is.
Yeah. You and I have to take our final break, my friend. And Exonation, if you'd like to contact our guest this hour, his name is Andrew RADZIEWICZ, and his website is thepsychicfirefighter.com. And once again, my friend, thank you for all your service over the years, not only as a member of the military or the NYFD or the Coast Guard, but for the work that you do helping people to bring closure. And, here's an old cliche, mend a broken heart. Thank you for what you do. We'll be back on the other side of this break as we wrap up this hour here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. And you're listening to us on the X Zone Broadcast Network and your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ here in St. Catharines. We'll be back. Don't go away.
Last night I didn't get to sleep at all. No, no. I lay awake and watched until the morning light washed away the darkness of the lonely night. Oh, and last night I got to thinking maybe I should call you up and
Oh, what a night. Late December back in '63. What a very special time for me. As I remember what a night. Oh, what a night. I did.
Welcome back, everyone. Andrew RADZIEWICZ is our special guest. His website is thepsychicfirefighter.com. Where does numerology fit into all of this, Andrew?
Anyone listening, I would advise to learn numerology because they want to go to a fixed income digital type currency in the future where everyone just gets paid the same amount. Okay. If you learn numerology now, that is the cheat code to all of this. So just for a basic example, with sporting events or anything that's going on, everything is directly affected by numbers. Elon Musk right now, he's lost over $200 billion this year. And his birth sign, he's in his enemy year sign. So when people come to me for readings, I'll take their birth date and tell them their numerology and how to have a game plan about how to plan their future, how to plan their business. And a couple girls from Canada came to me recently. I told them who was going to win the Masters in February. Rory McIlroy. One girl won over $4,000.
Wow. Geez, I'm going to have to get the lottery numbers off you.
Lottery's tough. I'll just say because I believe lottery, most of the people that win are CIA plants, and that's why they always win. It's dirty money. They just wash away. However, sports, that's a different ball game. If you have the numerology of the team playing and their best players, you can look back at the Super Bowls and a lot of big events, and numerology is on point.
How hard is it for somebody listening to contact you to learn how to do numerology?
Easy. Whenever I read somebody, I always at some point will take their birthday and tell them the numerology and what numbers to use to how to have their business grow. I did it with Army Hammer. We talked about it on our interview, and his podcast has gone viral as well.
If psychics and psychic mediums can traverse time, go forward and backwards, I guess you are basically time travelers. My question is, why can't a psychic go to the future? And here's my devious little mind going to work here. Get the lottery numbers and come back and play them.
So just like the future UFO events or the end of the world that's coming, right?
Yeah.
Every time, oh, the world's going to end, right? And it never does.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, once you share it or you talk about it, it has the ability to change.
Ah,
'cause we have
crap.
will. So, like, it's constantly, I feel that we are constantly switching timelines every day, everything, blah, 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 blah. Some good, some better. So it's like, to say something in advance is going to happen. Hey, if it does and it comes true, amazing. But like I said, with the lottery, I believe all that stuff's rigged. And if it was that easy, all the psychics would have done it because
Yeah,
we're
exactly.
constantly bending that future. But for something with sports, I have to say overall, sports have been very interesting recently. I've been following sports the last few years with numbers, and even the numbers that sports players wear in their jersey, they wear them for certain reasons to bring good luck and money to them.
I got to tell you something. I am the world's worst sports person. I really am. My idea of golf is you get to the first tee, you hit the ball as hard as you can, you say goodbye, and you walk into the clubhouse. Because the other way of doing it, like everybody else, is they hit the ball as hard as they can, go to it, hit it again to sink it in a little hole. And then they do the same thing 9 or 18 times. And where do they end up? Back in the clubhouse. So, sports, according to yours truly, is you hit the ball from the first tee as hard as you can, say goodbye to it, and head to the clubhouse. You see, and in hockey, my idea is the first person who gets the puck in the net, they're the winners.
Yeah, well, it takes, like with these, right, these supreme athletes, skill and obviously staying healthy.
Yeah.
That's why, like, if I say, oh, in 6 months this person's going to win, they might get in a car accident next month, right? Like,
True.
so free will can happen. So I usually like to wait till just before the event starts. I could tell you in advance, but of course, injuries, weird things happen.
Yeah.
You don't know. Someone could get COVID, right?
Oh,
Whatever.
gosh,
They could
yeah.
get poisoned. Anything can happen because why? Humans have a lovely way of messing things up sometimes.
Isn't that the truth? Life is very simple. We humans complicate it.
We are our own worst enemy. Yep.
Isn't that the truth? Like yesterday, my wife and I brought our little golden noodle to the dog park. There's about 30 dogs. Okay, they're all getting along. They're all playing, having a good time. You've got German Shepherds, you've got Collies, you've got Labrador Retrievers, you've got Shih Tzus, you've got the Golden Noodles there. And I said to my wife, why can't we do that? Like, I don't understand it. I really don't. And yet here you have these little different breeds of dogs, different sizes, and they're getting along fine. They just met each other. And away they go. I think we should learn from the animals more than we have. We should respect them more. And I think that instead of putting us at the top of the animal kingdom chart, I think we should be at the bottom. Because animals don't cause wars. Animals don't cause famine. Animals don't cause climate catastrophes. Animals don't cause nuclear threats. They learn to live. Anyway, I guess I have a very simple way of looking at life. So what do you think?
I agree.
Yeah. So do you also talk to people about angels? Because a lot of people these days are calling and giving us reports of angel sightings. And like we would get maybe 1, 2 a month. But now if we don't get 3 or 4 a week, something's wrong.
So angel to me means messenger.
Yeah.
And depending on what religion or whatever you're into, whatever you identify with, that is usually the way that these beings will show you. Because if you don't know what they are, what are you looking at? So whatever's imprinted in us, right?
Mhm.
Even watching a movie 20 times with angels in it,
Yeah.
that's imprinted in your brain. Your brain can't tell whether that's real or not when you're in a dream state.
True.
So you're imprinting this in, so you are more likely to, in a time of stress or after somebody dies, seeing an angel then. So be very careful what you consume, because if it's too much true crime or crazy or whatever, you might be seeing some things that you do not want to. But if it's all good or all angels,
Right.
beautiful. You can have a great time.
You know, you shared with us the experience you had with your fire crew, and how your grandmother came to you and gave you that warning. And many people may not believe it, but I know as a police officer that I would get the gut feeling, and that gut feeling never let me down. So I'm a believer when it comes to the premonitions. I truly am. How do we tell people or try to explain to people who are, they're skeptics. They look up in the air and they don't see the sky. They say that's not the sky or what. However, how do we try to explain to them the gift that you have and the experiences that so many other people have, that it's real? It's not foo-foo, but it is part of the reality that each and every one of us can share.
So I know the fire department in California, the LAFD, and even the police department out there, they're training their officers in mindfulness training, in
Wow.
spirituality. Like they're giving them in Proby school right off the bat.
Yeah.
They're giving them mindfulness. So that's a huge step in the right direction. And then FDNY, I know, I have a lot of friends still on, they've incorporated free services for meditation, qigong, and all these things that we're talking about. So the narrative is changing. And why? Because people like myself and others that have served have come forward with stories like this, that guys are reaching out to me saying, oh yeah, bro, I've seen this, I've seen that, I know that's real. You know what I mean? I know that's real. They may not want to go public, but all you can do, I'm not waiting for anyone to share their story, whatever. I'm just going to do what I got to do, because I know the positive effect that it's had, and I'm going to just keep doing it. And it can only do good if I keep going and sharing what I've experienced. So by me doing that, that's helping my immediate family, my folks, the ones I love around me. And you could have a great effect on the people that you love just by sharing something you've gone through.
There are a great number of law enforcement officers, and active as well as retired, that are paranormal investigators,
Oh, yeah.
researchers. A good friend of mine, Larry Lawson, who was with the Fellsmere Police Department and then Vero Beach Police Department as a detective. He is a paranormal investigator in that part of Florida, and then the former police chief of Roswell is a UFO and paranormal investigator. And,
Wow.
and the number of these credible people that are coming out and working with the different organizations and the different groups and teams. I really believe that we're on the cusp of pulling all these little pieces of the jigsaw puzzle together and finally getting a step further. And as a psychic medium, how do you see that?
I 100% agree, and that is why I retired as a firefighter, and I'm doing what I'm doing full time, because years ago I had a vision that we would be at that point, and it was coming. Like I said, to give you an exact date, the future's bendable, but I knew we were going in this direction. I wouldn't have done this 15 years ago. Wouldn't have done it 20 years ago. But now, at this point, I knew that it was time to do this full time and go all in, because we were getting to a collective awareness, and we're very close.
I've got about 2.5 minutes left before I have to say so long to you, my friend. What are your final thoughts? What message in the next minute would you like to share with the worldwide X-Zone Nation?
Everyone's meaning and everyone's definition of happiness is different. For some, that might be money. For some, that might be, breeding poodles. For some, it might be retiring by the beach. Others might want to, go by the New York Jets. So everyone's going through something different. I will just tell you one thing. Too much of anything can make you an addict. Money doesn't solve everything. We talked about the lottery before.
Yeah.
I knew a firefighter that won the lotto, and he said, Andrew, it ruined my life.
Oh, God.
And I said, why? He goes, he couldn't retire. He still had to work. He goes,
Yeah.
but everyone knew. And then I had fourth and fifth cousins reaching out to me that I never met for money. And everyone at work expected things. And he goes, it was the worst thing ever. I wish it never happened. So
Wow.
you might be sitting there wishing something or whatever, but to play it through, sometimes just having a regular, normal, boring life or whatever that is, isn't so bad. So, gratitude. Just try to be grateful for the things you have. And, everything else you think that might be out there, it may not be what it's all bent out to be.
Andrew, as always, it's a great pleasure talking to you, my friend. Be safe, be well, regards to your family, and I look forward to the next time you and I meet here in the X Zone.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me, Rob.
You take care. X Zone Nation, if you'd like to contact our guest this hour, Andrew RADZIEWICZ, his website is thepsychicfirefighter.com. I'll be back on the other side of the short break as hour number 2 of the X Zone will begin right now.